Here's your host, Scott Guerrilla.
And good morning, everybody. Today we have with us Holly Hudspeth, and she has an experience like none other, because I came up with a concept where we've been exploring sacred geometry and its effect on form, effectively the biofield of plants and people, and looking into the dynamics of changing our life, basically. Good morning, Holly. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good, thanks.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to share my experience with the sacred geometry pyramid and the dodecahedron, that are your forms that you have created, and share with people how to start working with sacred geometry. Like, what is it? What does it do to your life? And what's this all about, really?
That's for sure. I've had a varied experience over 45 years, starting with my little boy who could see energy like color in all the faces of the dodecahedron, which, by the way, is the shape of our DNA. I've learned a whole lot of things ever since. But what drew you to purchase a dodecahedron to start off with?
Wow. How far back should I go, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I had a roommate in college that was working with sacred geometry and the dodecahedron energy. So I was already familiar with sacred mathematics, sacred numbers. You know, I studied the Bible in the original Hebrew hieroglyphic for 5 years. I studied in yeshiva in the old city of Jerusalem. So I knew about the gematria. I knew about the Hebrew alphabet. It's hieroglyphic. It's all attached to a number. These forms and shapes are the language of God. And so the sacred geometry is found everywhere. The first time that I really, when I was getting my PhD in quantum natural medicine with an emphasis on the brain, about 5 years ago, I fell into the Suryantra and the brain studies that they had done on people that looked at the Suryantra and had meditated with it and what it was doing to their brain to coordinate their brain and heal it. So I was already aware that there was a code and a key where interfacing with this is not only life altering, it opens up dimensions of reality. And these are not dimensions that anyone doesn't have access to. This is part of our physiology. It's hardwired into us. So being able to turn these gifts and talents and skills and natural abilities on is actually our God-given birthright. And when we have these things activated, the whole landscape of life looks different. It becomes a completely different experience. So what did we meet, 7 years ago?
I think somewhere around there.
Yeah. And so I had seen your post about the dodecahedron and your journey with leukemia and how you had healed that. And of course, being in quantum natural medicine and in quantum physics, I was completely interested. You and I became, pretty much immediate friends.
Yeah.
And hearing about your journey, my curiosity was definitely there. I had a pyramid that I would meditate with. It was a little while, though, before you brought the dodecahedron to my house so that I could actually experience what the energy feels like.
And then you kicked me out.
I did not kick you out. I did not kick you out. I slightly suggested that you could take your dodecahedron maybe to a different place because the energy was really strong.
That's the same way my late wife put it. She could never sleep. She knew if that thing was up in the basement, all the way on the other side of the house, I thought I could sneak it and keep it up. But oh my God, she couldn't sleep.
That's like one thing that people need to know about if they want to dive into sacred geometry. I believe that the dodecahedron is really, it's at the top. Like if we think of it like a hierarchy,
yeah,
I believe the dodecahedron, it crowns everything. And so there are chakra, like you have to have a really good sturdy foundation to your energetic system, because how this energy is going to affect you is dependent on how solid your torus field is and how grounded you are,
I'd agree
because
with
it's
that one.
really, really strong. And it I believe it does come in, it does balance, it does bring everything back to your original blueprint of what you're here to do, your divine purpose. Even I have found with the dodecahedron, you can go forward and backwards in time. It's like on that axis.
Mm-hmm.
So
How would you describe that? That would going backward and forward in time. Like,
well,
how would you?
because
Yeah, how would you explain that?
it's the awareness that it's all happening now.
Ah.
So they're points on a grid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all happening simultaneously. So what I am doing right now is actually changing my past, what I do in my future, right? And actually the ancient Hebrew people way back, they actually had a word for that. It's called your Zadik. And so your Zadik, Tzaddik, your Zadik is that continuum of you throughout all time and all lifetimes. And so you can borrow from your Zadik from the future, but you can also go in meditation and change the past by going back to that point and in that meditation making a different choice. So I
Interesting.
already knew that there was this whole like fluctuation of time just from my studies in Israel and listening to them talk about it.
Ah.
Yeah. So these are the Hasidic Jewish people. They're Orthodox, but the Hasids are a little bit different. They're more like the Gnostics. And so they're very into energy work. Like everything is energy for them. So being able to stay with them and study with them for 2 months was actually really cool. It was mind blowing. And I realized that what they're talking about is quantum physics.
Yeah.
It's wrapped up in their spiritual beliefs. Jesus was teaching quantum physics. It simply is the law. It's the way things work. So when I came in to you with the dodecahedron, I think one of the things that we need to kind of talk about and tell people is that, like, it was like during the Pythagorean times, the dodecahedron was actually hidden knowledge.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. I was told that you'd be put to death if you even mentioned it in the Middle Ages. Of course, Plato is the one that assigned this form with the etheric, which is non-local reality, and gives you quantum access to anything, anywhere,
Yes.
anytime.
Yes. And so it's the capability of this form is really dependent on who is interfacing with it. It's,
Yeah.
as you and I spoke earlier, I think what people have to understand is that this is actually, if you think of it like a vehicle or a craft,
Yes.
and you have to know how to drive it.
Mm-hmm.
It has this really intense energy. And if you're not ready to know how to drive it, or you're not ready for it, it will actually like almost like repel you. When 2 years ago, when you came and stayed at my house, like literally that dodecahedron was upstairs and I was like walking sideways downstairs. Like I felt like I was on a boat and like, oh my gosh, like I can't, it just literally made me dizzy. I was like, oh my gosh, that energy is so strong. So it's okay if you're not ready for it. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean that there's something wrong with you. This is not like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
literally like handing the keys to a high performance aircraft or automobile to someone,
Mm-hmm.
and then knowing, are they going to actually be able to safely drive it, or is it going to cause detriment? So I would recommend to anyone to start with a pyramid. Start with a pyramid, start working with your guides, give your guides permission to remove, restore, or re-educate any part of your being that is not in alignment with your highest purpose here.
Mm-hmm.
The point that I got to where I was like, no, I'm ready for the dodecahedron, I'm all in, was when I basically was at the point of saying, I know I'm here for a purpose, and it is my absolute goal to do the purpose that I'm here for. Like, I've done everything else that I wanted to do. I've been in charge. I've been the one who is being driving my life. I've achieved all my goals. Now I want to really make sure I do what I'm here to do and to accomplish that before I go.
That's cool. What changes did it make in your life?
Oh, where to begin?
Mind blowing.
So, okay, I want to start here, and because this does tie into the changes in my life. I had someone ask me because they want to get a dodecahedron from you, and she's going to come and visit. And she said, "Well, can I experience the dodecahedron?" And I said, "Yes, you can experience my dodecahedron. Mine is very different from Scott's." Because people may or may not know, you came down here and stayed with me for a month, and I had my dodecahedron downstairs, you had yours upstairs, and
Mhm.
I got to experience your dodecahedron. That's your portal.
Yeah, because
And
your
mine
energy's
is
in there. Yeah.
right. So mine is my portal. And so you build that. You build that doorway based on whatever your energy is. And then it becomes more and more and more of a pathway of what are you ready for? What do you want to experience? What's your key? We're all keys, right? What's the
Hmm.
key of Scott? Where does that lead? What's the key of Holly? Where does that lead? So my dodecahedron, when I got it, I was in Cherokee Indian Territory. I was up in the Cherokee National uh, land
Okay.
in a cabin, which is obviously very ancient. My grandfather had worked with the Shoshone Indians, so I already have that ancestral Native American kind of almost like a feeling of like, I wanted to go back to when my actual very first lifetime I ever had as one of the original founders of the earth. And then back to, I have lemurs. I wanted to go back to Lemuria. I wanted to know what happened with that. The Akashic records, all the information that's in my bloodline, that's in my DNA from my ancestors. I'm super into history. I love to know what happened where, and I'm just really geeky about that. I'm also very innovative in the future, but I actually believe that the past and the future connect. So my dodecahedron goes more like what we would consider the past, into the Akashic record, into um the ancient technology,
Yeah.
like
That's what it's all.
Tartaria.
Yeah.
Like my dodecahedron will take you to Tartaria.
Or Egypt or Lemuria or Atlantis.
Yeah, Lemuria, Atlantis, like, and it all connects. So there's this point where no matter which way you go on the continuum, you're always going to end up at the same place, because it's also a fractal and we're on a repeating storyline. So I think the changes that it made in my life was okay, it really allowed me to let my person, my avatar that I had been or been programmed to be, to actually let that part of me die. And then to actually grieve that, like to grieve that, like I really did become this person and operate in these certain ways so that I could survive and be successful in a planet that's, kind of ghetto.
Yeah, it seems that way, doesn't
I
it?
mean, Earth is kind of like the hood of the lower astral, especially the more that you start to really like look at other species and other galaxies and how their societies are created, and what I would say, I don't want to say more advanced. It might feel like they're more advanced. Let's say different,
Yeah.
different galactic species, and why would they want to come to Earth, and what do they think about Earth? And so I took that perspective into the dodecahedron with me, which is basically from what people say about these other species of beings, it's like, humans are the only species that just kill each other for really no reason.
Yeah, pretty much.
We have a tendency to be violent. We have a tendency to become violent very quickly when there's something that we don't understand. We lack the curiosity that would be necessary to be intergalactic beings. Not all of us. This is just as a species on a planet, right?
Mhm.
We also have emotions. We have a lot of emotions that they don't have, and we have to move through those emotions as markers of where we are in our environment. And we have plant and animal species on this planet that don't exist anywhere else in the entire solar system. So we live on this really beautiful planet, but it's dangerous to come and visit here.
Mhm.
And, even for us to come and be human, it's a little bit dangerous. You have to be really brave. You have to be really, really, really brave to incarnate and have an Earth lifetime.
That's for sure.
Um,
Well, how would you tell somebody that there's all these other entities and things if they're not familiar with any of that? How would you try to express it?
okay, so I was actually really afraid of that concept for years. So I get it if it's weird to people. They declassified documents from the Pentagon, and you can go find them. They're declassified. The
Mhm.
Pentagon has identified over 80 different human hybrid species on the planet.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So for me, it's like I actually, because I do research, like I look for the hard evidence and the truth leaves clues, and understanding that like this wasn't something that I wanted to talk about. It wasn't something that I wanted to think about. I was absolutely terrified. If you even mentioned a UFO or an alien to me, I was out of there. And it was genuine, it was real. I was genuinely afraid.
Hmm.
I didn't think it was funny. I wasn't curious. It was one of the most horrifying things that I could ever imagine.
Why?
And so when I moved into a place of curiosity, it was like a 4 or 5 year journey to go, oh my God, like this is actually true and it is real. I started watching Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia and Into the Vortex on Gaia, where they're interviewing military people. I started looking at the declassified files, and I just started to realize now I've always been a Trekkie, next generation. Okay, so I love space travel. I've always loved space travel, but there was this some kind of a place in there of like cognitive dissonance where there was a lot of fear around what's real and what isn't and what could this be and what's going on. But to think that we are the only a living species in the entire galaxy is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is actually,
I mean, it's absurd.
especially when you consider the vastness of the universe and that you can have access to it, getting into the etheric, which is actually now being defined under different titles like dark matter and other theoretical terms. It's almost like they just divided up the ether. So I'm still going to call it the ether because it's a broad spectrum umbrella for non-local reality.
Yeah,
So
and that is the ether. And so, finding out that like we've been on Mars, there's stargates all over Earth, there's portals. I had already spent a lot of time in Sedona. I know about the vortexes of energy. I've felt them. I've seen the trees grow in the spirals. Um, I went to Machu Picchu 20 years ago and did the Inca Trail. Like, I've been to 22 different countries to these like ancient sites and ancient hieroglyphic, like the hieroglyphic Hebrew. Like, any time that you go either way, you're going to find the same thing. When you
yeah,
go to the Nazca lines in Peru and you're looking at them from the airplane, there is actually an astronaut in the Nazca lines. When you
that's
go to, Petra and like the cave drawings, whatever, there's UFOs in the Bible.
pretty
And
much.
so, there's giants, there's dragons in the Bible. You look at like mermaids, and there's all over the world, there are accounts from every country, back to like 500 BC, you know, ship captain journals of these beings that live in the water.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, the thing that really got me was where I was living in Florida, and I'm not going to say where it was because I don't want to draw a big crowd there. where I was living in Florida, I could go across the street to the beach and sit on the beach at night and just chill out and watch the stars. And there was this stuff coming out of the water,
Yeah, it's cool.
like every night coming out of the water. And I actually thought it was our military. I thought, oh my gosh, we've got this really advanced equipment. I would wave at them. I was so proud. I genuinely thought that was our military
Uh-huh.
and that it was us. And then after 2 years of waving at these craft and being so proud, I mean, the flight patterns on these things was crazy. Governor DeSantis came out in a public statement and said, people are seeing unusual activity at the beach. I just want everybody to know that's not us. That's not our military. We don't know what it is. And I was like, oh my God, I have been waving at unidentified flying objects for 2 years. Me, the person who's so scared of UFOs, has been waving at them with genuine goodwill. And that was the beginning of my curiosity, along with you and I using the ghost box, obviously being in quantum physics, PhD, doing the remote viewing program, all of those things tying in to just basically go, now I have better questions and I have more questions. And my
Yeah.
curiosity overrode my fear.
Well, I got to tell everybody what the ghost box is. It started out as that, and then it turned into a quantum radio when I put a dodecahedron antenna system on this thing, inspired by Huff Paranormal, if you want to look at that, because he was talking to these past entities. We found we could talk to ourselves in the future. We could talk to past presidents. Even one came through and said, we're the Galactic Federation. I mean, this gets to be very sci-fi, but
It
in
does,
real life.
but it's all time is now.
Yeah.
Every single reality is happening now. So when we reincarnate, we come back to a point in the grid. It's not like, oh, ancient Egypt is gone or the ancient Romans are gone. No, it's all, they're points on the grid. And it's more like a web, right? Like time is not linear.
Mm-hmm.
When I mean, the big one for me that was like, okay, whatever, was when, I got to a certain age to realize they've never proven gravity.
Yeah.
Like gravity is a theory.
Yeah. Even like
right?
electricity, they really don't know for sure what it actually is. Only by quantifying it. That's about it.
So when
But,
you realize that all of these things about our reality, there's so many things that they really don't know that they haven't proven, and they teach them to us like this is how it is.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a certain point in our suffering that causes us to go, okay, I'm going to question everything now.
Mhm.
Right?
Well, what would
Like-
you suggest to people as far as, since you've had the dodecahedron pyramid, how has that benefited you, or how would somebody expect that to benefit their lives in general?
If you are absolutely ready to like be in the truth with yourself and be on a level of self-love that goes beyond who you are in this lifetime, then you're ready for the dodecahedron. But until we honor and love who we are, we can't know who we are. Because if you're not honoring and loving who you are, then you're going to block and avoid looking at yourself.
How would somebody evaluate that?
I think it starts with asking, because it's impossible for us to really clearly see who we are without some sort of a mirror or some sort of help.
Yeah.
Because like that's part of the experience here, is that we can't see ourselves fully. We see ourselves in each other. That's part of this experience.
Yeah.
Is that we're not supposed to do it alone. We're not able to do it alone. We're supposed to be in some sort of unity with each other. And even in the places where there's conflict and friction and turmoil, we're still learning. We're always learning and growing. And as we get to the deeper and deeper levels of like curiosity about what this is and who we are, the questions get better
Mm-hmm.
and the answers just make more questions.
Yeah, oh, that's for sure. Well, I got to say, over 45 years of giving intermittent sessions for people, one of the predominant things that would occur in there is they'd see dark shadows coming out of their body from the dodecahedron. I always thought that was fascinating. Then when they were done, they go, I feel like I'm totally cured or freed of all this emotion and stuff that was locked in their energy field. It's very powerful stuff. Often they
Yeah,
cry.
there's a lot. Like for me, I got in the dodecahedron and I did not get out. Like I went kamikaze with the dodec. I don't know if I recommend that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be responsible for what happens to somebody if they decide to do that.
Yeah.
Only that you need to be facing off. Like, I'm going to do what I'm here to do, and I don't care. I will not do anything. Like, I am literally going to throw everything to a screeching halt. I'm not moving forward until I'm ready to move forward rightly because I want to get it right with the time that I have left. I am super committed for this to be my last lifetime as a human. That is like the most important thing to me. Like, I will be a spirit guide next time. I can go to be a being on another planet. I can, like, I don't want to get tricked into coming back here. I think I've been here a lot of times and I think I'm tired on that level. And so this one's my one to get it right. And that really is like my core absolute thing. It is the most important thing to me. So when that is the most important thing to you, you look at what the military does in boot camp, and in boot camp they break you down, they break you down, they break you down. They boot camp destroys who you were. And at the same time, they're building you into a person who's using your gifts and talents, you're using your skill, you're facing your fears, you're getting strong, you're becoming this incredible version of yourself.
Wow, it's like the dodecahedron could do that for you.
That was the dodecahedron was like a boot camp for me. And so my time in the dodecahedron was like literally like, no, I'm gonna hold the field. I'm just gonna sit and hold the field. And I got in the dodecahedron. I didn't get out except for like to like get something to drink or go take a shower, whatever. I stayed in the dodecahedron. I made a nest in the bottom of it. I had my journal. I brought all my stuff in it because it's really pretty big. I meditated. I literally was like, no, I am staying in this energy field and I will stay here. And if I melt and fall apart and become people soup and I get stirred and all this stuff's coming up, I'm just going to sit and say, thank you. Thank you. Yes, that thing that happened, that really hurt. That was horrible. And I could see that version of myself and I could just love her. I could literally see, like, yeah, that me in that scenario needed love. And I'm going to be the person who's just going to love her. Broken, not my best self, whatever, doesn't matter. I was able to love and hold space and witness with respect all the versions of me, all the versions of my ancestors. You know, their story is in my DNA.
Mm-hmm.
All the versions of me through all of time, even the versions of the earth, right? Where we have this like, beautiful, pristine, wild, incredible planet. And there's all these things that have happened. And the earth has her story too. And the animals have their story. And it's the same story. Like when we can hold space and not abandon ourselves in the story, that's when all of a sudden now you are in charge.
Well, what do you think would have happened if you tried to do that without the dodecahedron? Would it still work?
I did try to do it without the dodecahedron. I did it without the dodecahedron for like, I don't even want to tell you how many years. And I did subconscious clearing and sound and light therapy brain training. And I'm trained in hypnosis. I've had people hypnotize me. I've done rebirthing. I've done past life regression. I've had Reiki. I've had people pray for me at church. I've drank holy water. I've done the flower essences, not just the Bach flower essences, but the Floral Live flower essences. And I've done transcendental meditation, and I've journaled and burned it and traveled to all these different places, including Machu Picchu and laid at the Sun Gate. And like, I have done anything that I've ever been able to find. I went to Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within and did the fire walk. I walked on fire. I've jumped out of an airplane 150 times. Like, I have morphed myself as hard as I possibly can, as many ways as I possibly can, and getting to the original blueprint of my DNA. The original. And that means all 14 strands, by the way. The 12 they turned off, the telomeres that they capped on all of us, the lifetimes in between lifetimes. Like, this brings it all, including all the different people that I am based on choices that I made. Those people are all relevant and alive and real too. And I can actually ask them for advice. I can put the highest version of me in charge of the boardroom. I can borrow from my Zadik, the person in the future me that is the highest version of me. I can let her speak in and make my decisions. This gives you that access point to that. Actually, I don't even want to say that because that sounds like it's outside of yourself. It doesn't give you the access point to that. It activates it. Because we know it's there. We know we can do it. We know we can heal ourselves of anything. We know who we're capable of being. We can feel it. We dreamed about it. We felt it when we were a kid. And that's the other thing is, oh my God, did this thing get me in touch with my inner child who was so excited when she got here about this great life and all these animals and all these wonderful, fun things that I had promised her that we were going to do. And I remembered actually feeling that way about life. I remembered actually feeling excited about what I could do and who my childhood heroes were. I remembered things I haven't thought about in years.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It's completely amazing, but
And
you
then,
have to have both sides.
yeah,
If I'm not willing to be in touch with 19-year-old me standing on the street corner when my boyfriend walked away from me and I was in tears and I watched him leave and he never even turned around. If I can't love her and acknowledge her, I can't get 6-year-old me who pretended that I was the circus person and my cats were jumping through the hula hoops. If you block one part, you block it all. We're holographic. The only way to get to your joy is through your grief. And I really understand that now on levels that I cannot begin to express. And for me, this energy allowed me to not get stuck in it.
because it
Like,
will
if you're
not.
gonna, yeah, if you're gonna go through something rough, let's go quick, shall we? I'm all about that. I don't want to get lost in the sauce or stuck on the campground of regret. Okay. So
Yeah,
that was my fear with all of the things that I did, is like, oh my God, what if I stay stuck forever? What if I can never dislodge this? Then what? Like, I've already faced it 100 times. You don't want to stay living in it. You don't want to stay stuck in it. We all want to be able to move forward. But as soon as you try to move forward, whatever that old thing is pops up in front of you and goes, no, you're going to deal with me before you're going to be successful. And it's like maddening. And so the dodecahedron was really tutoring me that energy and like this really high, really fast, like, it's all the same. There's no time. There's no, it's like all of a sudden you can see all of that. And it causes a complete implosion of your life, because your life isn't, you created that. Now you don't need it anymore. You got to move it out of the way to bring the new thing in.
like the caterpillar to the butterfly.
Yes. And when a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, it goes into this liquid form. Like it becomes soup. It's not a caterpillar anymore, and it's not a butterfly. It's goo. And if you
Yeah.
bust the cocoon open at that point, you get nothing. And then it completely restructures its DNA. It's like one of the creatures on the planet that its entire DNA changes.
It's amazing.
Yes. And so I feel very strongly, should I get another DNA test, I believe that the dodecahedron has completely changed my DNA.
Very probable. Can
But
they?
it's
I was going to say,
it
can they check for epigenetic changes, or does it have to be your ground
that's a
level
really
knowledge?
good question. That's a really good question. So is it like your actual DNA, or is it your genetic expression that's changing?
Yeah.
And you don't have to believe in the dodecahedron for this to happen. This is not a faith issue. It's not a religion. It's not a cult.
Yeah.
It is. And
Like the sun. You were
like the
saying.
sun. So that said, this is absolutely incredible. And if you
Well,
really want to step into the highest version of who you are and who you really intend to be, there is a heartfelt space of genuine appreciation of life and me and everything that comes into my life. And whatever this is, whatever this thing is that we're here doing that we call life, there's a place that's beyond words for appreciation for that. And
absolutely.
that's what the doorway goes to.
How would you express your relationship with God relative to your experience?
So I was actually raised Catholic, and then I went to like a Church of Christ high school. I went to a Baptist college. My grandfather was the son of a Methodist preacher. He studied the Bible in the original Hebrew. My grandmother was the daughter of an orphan that was raised in the convent.
Wow.
So there's a lot of obvious religion, God, scripture that has been in my life, of my whole life. Um, and obviously I do. It's not even that I believe in God, I know God.
Yeah.
There is no doubt.
It's a different.
So to me, the sacred geometry that is, the flower of life, the Merkaba is in the Bible. That's the chariot when Elijah and Elisha, Elijah is dying and he says, if you can see me when I go up, then you can have the double portion. And it said he went up in a chariot. If you look in the original Hebrew, that is not chariot, it's a Merkaba. The Merkaba is the star of Bethlehem. It's the way your energy field looks to, let's say, the angels, right? Which is
Mhm.
another one. You have the archangels. It's actually not the angels, it's the angles.
Hmm.
And so when you see the seraphim and the cherubim and like these wheels within wheels and all of this, those are all the best way they could put into words of this sacred geometry representation.
Yeah.
So all of the church stained glass windows, the mandalas, those are actually energetic frequencies that we have in our body, and it activates that and it brings us to that higher place. So
Yes.
sacred geometry is the language of God. It's in your bones, it's in your blood, it's in if you take slices of a tree branch and put it underneath a microscope, it's everywhere.
It
It's
is. It's
we're seeing it everywhere.
even in our
And
cells, pine cones.
yes, and it's beautiful. It's everything is a reflection of everything else. And so, in understanding this, it says in the Bible that it's a matter of kings to seek and study a thing and search it out. And so, there's levels of understanding. And as we grow and mature, we want to understand things on a deeper level. The sacred geometry is a level that is really beyond words.
So, how would you wrap up your entire experience with the forms succinctly that people could evaluate for themselves effectively if this is a journey they'd like to partake in?
So, to put it as succinctly as I can, as far as my experience and what I feel like the outcome is and the journey that I'm on,
Mhm.
I would say that there is a timeless and divine aspect to our experience as spiritual beings in all the different forms that we take, and the accumulated knowledge that we have, not just from our experiences, but from the knowledge of our ancestors, the wisdom of even the earth, right? Like we're all these holographic beings that are constantly taking in information and then impacting and adding to, and we're growing exponentially on quantum levels. I would say that my experience with the form is it caused a quantum leap, and it threaded together everything I have ever done, everything I've ever tried, everything I've ever wanted. It kind of was like a missing link where all of a sudden all of this stuff like threaded together in this like quickening, like, and even things in my life that I might not have wanted to happen or I might not have been particularly pleased with, um, started to make sense because I started to see what I learned from it. And it's like an ego death on levels that is just incomprehensible. I don't really identify myself as this person that I am in this lifetime now. I identify myself more for the totality of who I've ever been for all of time and who I'm going to be. And I see that as being one continuous ray. So the way that I handle what's going on outside of me is different. The way that I understand that I am actually the one who's designing this video game that I'm playing called my life, or this movie, right? Like understanding that you are writing the movie. Like every time that we get emotionally engaged with an idea, we are now locking in and making that real. So, what we become emotionally engaged with, what we decide to grab onto and wrestle with, is what becomes a driving part of our reality. Or we can recalibrate and we can become engaged emotionally with the highest potential. We can begin to see that. We can fall in love with it, at which point anything that's an obstacle becomes very small.
Mhm.
You know, I can say that as far as my experience goes, I'm like a super intense, super passionate person about pretty much everything that I do. Like even if you look at my astrological chart, just the way I'm wired, like everything is really intense for me. Like I've just always been that way since I was a child. I'm very sensitive and very aware. So my experience with the dodecahedron might not be someone else's experience. That's the other thing. Everybody's going
Yeah.
to have their own experience. Um, what I can tell you is that I got my dodecahedron within 30 days. I had people who know me and they're witnessing my life through my reels that I make on Facebook, whatever, because I'm a content creator. So I had people calling me and going, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "I am watching you quantum leap." And I'm like, "How are you watching me quantum leap when I'm just making videos of lemurs?" And they're like, "No, you can see it. You can feel it. Your energy is completely different. You are literally bounding, quantum leaping." And at the time, I was in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. There was nothing to impact me. It wasn't like I was, oh, I'm living in Miami or I'm living in New York, or no. I went in the opposite direction where I pared my life down. So you wouldn't think that somebody would be like, "Oh my God, it's so exciting what you're doing." You know, what I was doing wasn't exciting. What I was doing was very simple, but people could see it and they
Hmm.
could feel it. And when other people started to call me and say, "What are you doing? Your very essence is so magical. Something is going on with you." And whatever it is, I'm super engaged and curious. that was when I knew that what I was experiencing in the dodecahedron was really real. Because there's a part of it where you wonder, is this real? Like, am
Yeah.
I losing my mind? Because you will lose your mind, by the way, and your mind is nothing other than everything that you've been programmed to believe is real and true and valid.
So you found yourself.
Oh, you find, yes, I found myself beyond, what all these limitations that have always been put on us from the time we're little, and these rules and this, and that always bugged me. Like, I never liked that. I managed to learn to work with it, or I kind of gave up and surrendered because this is just how it is. And I was pretty bummed out about it. Like, I kind of looked forward to a time when I would cross over to the other side and I didn't have all these constraints. Like, we're told that, like, oh, you have limitations because of your body, and you have limitations because of gravity, and you have limitations because of time. And the truth is that none of those things actually exist. So if you're frustrated because of those limitations, it's because something in your soul knows that that is actually a lie. You don't have to come into agreement with that. And when you don't come into agreement with it, even having a conversation with people becomes a little bit difficult, because you realize that, like, we're having this whole conversation based on this construct that is limiting, and it's really not the fullness of our truth. And so
Yeah.
that's the part where you start to really become aware of, like, craving a better conversation, craving more, like more expansiveness, more somebody that you can talk to and actually really dig into the quantum realm and really leap. But in order to do that, everything that you are currently in is not going to be there anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's not a match anymore. And so there is that point of letting go. It's like when I used to skydive, you go all the way up to altitude and they open that door and you're standing in the doorway of that airplane about to jump. It's that same feeling of, like, you know, I don't really know, but, like, the people that I was, not everyone, but some of the people that I was friends with, some of the people in my family, some of the things that I believed, some of the memories that I was attached to, some of the coping mechanisms or drivers that I had that made me successful. I have to let go of all of that. And so then you have a new motivation, right? You're not driven by the same thing. You're not driven, you're pulled. You're pulled. It's like a complete reversal of your system. And that's the part where it gets weird. That's the part where I really do believe that people need to be with us in a program where these things that come up that they have a really hard time describing, they can talk about it so that they know, hey, we're holding space for you. You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
You're going to be fine as you move through, because the dodecahedron's a portal, is what
Mhm.
it really is. It's a vehicle, but it's also a portal.
It takes you to places you can't go otherwise.
Right. And, like, your dodecahedron is way more of, like, the doorway to the astral. Like, when I was in your dodec and I had the, meditation, it was just crazy cool. Like, the energy was just so expansive and, like, diving into, like, the cosmos.
That's my stuff.
Um, yeah. Yeah. And there was, like, a point where the music was going, and all of a sudden the energy, right? The energy is, like, building up, building up, building up. You can feel it, like, around the dodec. And then all of a sudden it just went, and, like, my whole being, it was like one of those special effects where the whole outline of you is all lit up, and like, I felt that. It was like, that was my experience. Like, I saw the lights, and it was literally like this, like, intersection of, like, where you just pull that energy in and go, it was like this piezoelectric. So the dodecahedron is kind of like our lives. It becomes whatever you're putting the energy in. It becomes whatever you're focusing on. It becomes whatever you're asking for.
And it evolves with you.
It does evolve with you. And if you are curious, like if you've ever questioned, like, well, how do they know with the Bible? And there were books that they took out and it's been translated into several different languages. Like, I don't really know, like, not that you don't believe in God, but like, I don't really know if this translation is really true. And then the pastor has his own take on it. And he's going to tell you, if you're the kind of person who questions that and goes like, no, I want to know what God actually said. Like, I want to know what actually happened. Like, I really want to know who I am. If you've ever sat and looked at the stars, even as a child, and just felt homesick, like you just feel like you want to know what home feels like. And that kind of, I call it being like cosmic orphans,
Uh,
you know? Um, just literally feeling like there's some family somewhere and you don't know where they are, but you know what it feels like and you want to have that feeling, you want to have that, then I would say that the dodecahedron is a really, really, really good experience for you to have. And I would start, with the little crystal dodecahedrons that we're charging in the dodecahedron. So now you're getting both. You're getting two dodecahedrons, the bigger one imprinted on the smaller one. Start working with that energy. If you are a total kamikaze and you are just that person who just dives in with both feet, order the big one. Go for it. I'm not going to tell anyone to slow down. Like, I don't like it when people tell me to slow down.
yeah, I get
Just
it.
know what you're in for. And if you get to where it's like really, really, really intense and you want to talk to somebody about it, reach out and talk to us, because I guarantee you, uh, it's there's not going to be anything off limits or weird.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, how would you compare the pyramid to the dodecahedron energy wise?
Okay, so the pyramid has a wider base. The pyramid is more, to me, the pyramid is more like you've got this wide base and it's reaching up and it's heart. It's more of the heart chakra. Um, the dodecahedron
Hmm.
is like very expansive
Mm-hmm.
and it's like you're floating. Whereas, like, to me, the pyramid grounds you in your body as this, like, amazing spiritual being. And it opens that up so that it's almost like your pineal gland, right? Like, opening your view, pulling down the energy into your body, building yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the pyramid builds you up,
Yeah,
and the dodec just, it's like you're almost like expanding so much.
I'd agree. It's like Pura means fire in the middle. Fire in the middle, that's life force being put into the middle of our being. And then when you get in the dodecahedron, it opens up all the meridians for that fire to move more effectively through your physiology, especially if there's any emotional blocks, things like that. It tends to move those out of the way so you can expand and fly in that state between dream and wake state. So very similar descriptions without even thinking about that before
Yeah,
quite.
and I would say like the pyramid never made me cry.
Yeah, me either. But the
But the
Dodec would.
dodecahedron, I've had times that I literally was crumpled up with my tea in my down comforter, just bawling my head off. And like to the point that like physically I could feel just this intense grief. Like, I don't even know that there was a memory that I could necessarily attach it to. I mean, my mind would find one.
Yeah,
It's like you have this intense grief, and then your brain is like, okay, well, let's find something that you can cry about, like to connect this to.
to make
But
it
I
simple.
think, yeah, I think we have this really intense grief that's in our spirits that we've never been able to express.
I think that could come from past lives or between lives or somewhere else, because there's a lot of times we get that, or it's just ingratitude to God when you feel that divine energy, because that's what's really happening with me anyway. I always feel like, and I've seen the light of God in the dark with my eyes closed, where it's just like the sun's on my face. And it's always, all this stuff comes from that experience in the dodecahedron, because it continues when you get out.
It does. It does. Yes, absolutely. And the thing about it is like for me, even being in the dodecahedron and having these really intense experiences that I don't really know what word you would give it, but it's real and it's really intense. Just staying in there and just allowing yourself to feel whatever you're feeling, just let it happen. It's okay. Fall apart, come back together again. To me, that's the place of the greatest faith I've ever been in my life.
Uh,
To just simply stay in that space and go, you know what, God, I trust you. I asked for this and I trust you. And no matter what contortions and variables I'm going through right now, it is necessary. I will understand it at a certain point. I will be grateful, and I can be grateful now, even though it's like really intense. I can still be grateful that you care enough to work with me. And the thing about it is if you can just honor it and hold space, literally, it all comes back together again, like really fast. It's
it's
like it's pulling stuff off, and um,
it accelerates the process tremendously.
yeah, it does. I think that I've done more I think in 7, 8, 9 months of having this dodecahedron, I have done more just absolute quantum leaping, healing, understanding wisdom, plugging knowledge in, moving forward, being excited about life than I've done in my whole life. Nothing compares. And I think being able to have the wherewithal to actually work with the dodecahedron, if someone does have the right energy and has the ability to say, yeah, no, I want to do this. Like, I think that if we got enough people with these dodecs, I think we could literally change the world very quickly.
I agree with that. And that's brought you to the doorstep of a new venture. Do you want to tell people about that yet, or is that going to be a secret?
No, no, no. You need to tell them.
Well, Holly's got this unique idea. It's going to be the Lemur Cafe there in Cocoa area of Florida. And it's going to be kind of a steampunk vibe, healing center, and a cafe at the same time. Never heard of that before. And that's going to be coming around the corner probably in a month or two, I'd imagine.
Yep. It
And
is a coffee. It's a healing center disguised as a coffee shop with
that's
animal
good.
interactions. So you'll be able to have chi scalar system, quantum frequencies going through your being while you're hanging out in the garden with the lemurs and drinking your coffee and meeting with your friends and having community and eating really healthy food and just being able to have a place to connect and discuss. Obviously, I'm right down here on top of SpaceX and NASA, and there's rockets being fired off out of my front yard. Just about, it's the launch pad so close to my house. When they launch a rocket, my windows buckle. So we're down here, kind of at the space, the final frontier.
Yeah, they'll probably get to
Uh,
meet astronauts and all kinds of very interesting people that work with the Department of Defense and who knows what.
Yep. So we're just, bringing in the ancient structures like the pyramids and the dodecahedrons and the ancient Rosicrucian hermetics, the ancient biblical texts into the technology of where we're headed. And of course, the lemurs are the oldest DNA on the planet. Nobody knows how they got to Madagascar. They're endangered species.
Mm-hmm.
And the Native Americans say they're the frequency of joy, and they're a lot of fun, and they're very, very friendly. And so you'll be able to come, and no matter how old you are, no matter what you're into, there's a place for you. at the Lemur Cafe.
So is there a phone number people could reach you directly?
Yeah, you can call me at 615-804-9226. Just be sure and send me a text before you call so I can anticipate who you are. I
Yeah,
don't want to think that you're like a telemarketer or something and decline your call. So,
makes sense.
yeah, we would love to. Scott's going to bring his Metatron's cube, which is all the nested geometrical forms. He's going to bring the Merkaba down. We're going to do an event.
Yeah,
It's going to be part of the grand opening of the shop, and we're going to be able to run scans on you before and after. So we want to see what's happening when people get in these forms, and it's measurable.
and
So
get some
you'll
research.
get, yeah, Scott's got scanning equipment. I have my HRV scanning equipment. It scans all your chakras, your organs, your brain. It shows how much energy you have in each one of those systems, available energy after your body's dealing with your stress. So when your voltage and your energy goes up, obviously we call that healing.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, we're here
Right?
to kind of change the dynamic of humanity, get out of this Newtonian mindset, and kind of reach for the stars is the way I'm looking at it. And
Absolutely.
I put that Metatron's cube, which isn't, we haven't talked about that yet. It's a whole nother podcast, but I put this new invention of mine, and we believe it is the first creation like it on the planet. And it integrates all the platonic solids, which is elemental associations between earth, air, wind, and fire. Plus the etheric is the dodecahedron. And I got over 152,000, 157,000 likes. Last time I looked at it, 4,000, almost 5,000 people made it a favorite. It's exploding all of a sudden. But unless you're on my TikTok, you wouldn't know that. And that was from one post. So wait till they get into some of the other dynamics that this thing has to offer and the advantages, it should be really, really cool.
And definitely. And if you want to see what this dodecahedron ether energy feels like, tomorrow is the spring equinox. So we have little crystal dodecahedrons, and I'm going to put it in my dodecahedron and charge them up.
That'll be
And if
good.
you want to buy a little pendant, you can reach out to Scott and you can just begin to have that energy. Quartz crystal is the most precise energy on the planet. It's why they use it in all the best watches.
Yeah, it's
It's
programmable.
part of, it's programmable. It's why it's used in so many electronics.
And water,
So,
God, water is so smooth after being in there. Anything that's in there, your body, everything changes when it's
yeah.
in that influence.
And
But
so what you can do is you can take your little dodecahedron and you can drop it in a gallon of water and set it in the sun, and it'll infuse your water with that energy. And that's a really good place to start. I think that if you can just dip your toe in and see how transformative it is, it's going to make you want a big one. You'll take the plunge, but you need to have an appetizer,
there you
right?
go. That's kind of
I
what
can
it's like.
tell you about what the food tastes like, but you can order a sample, and that's basically what these little quartz dodecahedrons are. Is it's a sample of the energy. I know that I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on any kind of healing modality, therapy, equipment, you name it. I've got all of it in my house. I use it in my research center. This dodecahedron has been hands down the most impactful thing I have ever done in my life. I will never go back. I wish I would have done it sooner.
That's cool. Well, more therapists are coming up to check it out. And there's one doctor in Illinois that's got one. Other than that, you and her are the only two people besides me in this era. I mean, I sold a few back like 35 years ago, but all that's been lost. I don't even
It's
know.
strong though. Like if you get one, you got to reach out. You got to stay hooked into us, and you've got to be able to have somebody to unpack what you're experiencing, because otherwise you're going to think you're losing it.
Yeah, you
It's
could.
it's it's wild, man. Like it's you have to stay curious and stay flexible, because it's going to take you on the journey to the center of the earth, and the journey to the center of the earth is this earth.
Yeah, because
So
people see aliens. They see their relatives come to them. They go out of their body. Anything you can think of is
yes,
possible.
my relatives were in my cabin with me, and we were having a conversation the same way you and I are now.
That's spectacular.
And it was awesome. It was incredible. I've never felt so loved. I've never felt so celebrated. I saw myself not in the way that I was used to seeing me. I quit being so hard on myself. I was really being hard on myself. And I didn't even know it. My ancestors were just like, we're so proud of you. That I realized we have so much support in the spirit realm. You have so many people cheering for you. There's no way you could even know. And they love you so much. All of creation loves you so much. You
That's
know, it
fair.
really does. It's mind blowing.
I was thinking today, said, thank you, God, for my hands and my fingers and my organs and the light. And I thought, this is ridiculous. And I said, I love you, God. Thank you for you. And that encapsulates all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just, I mean, it really hurts God's feelings when you're not kind to yourself. Like, it actually makes God sad because God sees you. It's not about being perfect.
Yeah.
It's not. It's very brave. It's very brave that you came here to do this. Like, people waited in line to come to Earth, and you were really excited to come. When you were a little kid, you were so excited about how great it was going to be. And this, this thing, this planet, this place, it'll try to break you. It'll try to tell you all kinds of things about what you can't do. And the awakening is about realizing that you can. And it's not about being mad at anyone for lying to you. It's about forgiving yourself for believing it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And that's where it goes back into that heart center where it's like, no, I'm actually not mad at anyone. I just have to forgive myself. And that's when everything breaks loose, and all of a sudden you're in so much joy. It's unbelievable how much joy and how much grace you can have for everyone.
That's for sure. Once you've forgiven yourself.
It's okay. We're here to learn and grow and fail greatly. Fail greatly every day. I want you to fail even bigger tomorrow than you did today because you're learning. That's called learning. And if you
Elon
just
says that.
he does say it. I love Elon. I love Elon. Fail early and often. Oh my gosh, what we need to tell all the kids that.
That's where your new revelations are born. That's for sure.
Absolutely. So, I'm super glad if you're still with us that you took the time to listen. Thank you.
Yeah, that's for
We love
sure. And
you, and we want to see you be able to have people to talk to about whatever your spiritual experiences are, and always know that you have some people that you can reach out to.
yeah, that's for
We,
sure.
yeah, we'd love to hear your story and assist, and whatever we can do to help you move into who you were created to be.
Absolutely.
That's where we're all going. We're all walking each other home.
That's for sure. The new business name is Divine Geometrical Universe under divinegeometricaluniverse.com. And you can keep up with everything there. And Holly Hudspeth is on Facebook. I am on Facebook, and I'm also on TikTok under Scot Guerrilla 601. That was something that just came up, and I ended up posting a few things, and it just kept growing. So now I have everybody's on my 601 version.
And we're definitely doing a big event down here at the cafe. It should be coming up in late spring, early summer. So definitely keep track of Scott on that one, because that's going to be like the expose of all of the forums, and you'll get the scans and be able to meet like-minded people and see what happens when you're in the forum and everybody else is holding space for you. And then when they're in the forum and you're holding space for them, it's all about this holographic universe of like the oneness of what we can do when we all hold that field together.
Yeah, because when somebody's in that dodecahedron, it just radiates like this energy. If you shut your eyes, it's like you're you're just standing before God. It's like the divinity in the person, or God's coming through them or something. And it's very emotional for me when somebody's in that.
It is. It's phenomenal. I love things that make me feel literally like it blows my mind and I feel like a little kid.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel when they launch a rocket. It's just like, oh my gosh, like, wow, like, look at that. Like, that's crazy. How cool. And the ground shakes. And the dodecahedron is the same way. It's literally like, it's like you feel it. I mean, you know something's happening.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's fun.
I think it's the future of space travel. Actually, we're going to be doing it by going within rather than
Yes.
mechanically. We'll be able
Yes,
to,
I could not agree with you more.
just like
Absolutely.
the ancient pyramids, and its greatest achievement of mankind collectively are things related to sacred geometry. Always. Well, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast.